Troodon is one of those playables that I simply do not run often. As tiny and adorably vicious as they are, latency issues have always been a problem for them, and it's simply not fun to spend an hour growing just to die to a buggy pounce. Regardless, with a busy week ahead, I decided that something quick to grow was my best bet. And considering how many hours it took to do anything interesting on Herrera last time I played it, Troodon seemed like the most viable option. Here's the thing about True, though. Timing and aim is everything. One wrong move, one bad pounce, and you'll get incredibly familiar with the respawn screen. My journey began beside the southern pond, and I'll be honest, at first I had no idea where I was. Fresh spawn Troodon is quite possibly the most frustrating dino to get started on. You are quite literally a flea. A tiny flea that can pounce but do almost no damage with it, bite but do less than 1 damage per hit, or scavenge, but nothing bigger than a fresh spawn or the organs would be too large for you to pull out of the carcass. A little Cerrado hanging out with a dino beside the pond became my target. Mostly because it looked like he crashed and that was probably just about the only thing I'd be able to kill at my size. Of course, the dino decided quickly that the flea wasn't allowed to eat his friend. Only he could. So he killed it and put it on the other side of the pond. I am nothing, though, if not incredibly stubborn. So I waited beside the corpse until the dino caught something else, and then I proceeded to steal the organs and hide them in the bushes nearby. It wasn't much, but I didn't honestly need much anyway. After growing beside the pond, scavenging off of dead juvenile Cerrados until I was big enough to actually use my venom, I trotted down to the nearby beach looking for more organs. This particular corpse had already been cleaned out, and I found out by whom as I was preparing to leave it. I wasn't starving, but I really did want more organs to help my growth rate continue as it was. And now that I had venom, I could actually properly fight back. When he sat down, I thought perhaps he had given up. But see, if I've learned anything while playing this game, it is to never let your guard down. Not even for a second. It should have been a great victory. I had slain the trash goblin. But of course, an adult Cerrado had to rain on my parade the instant the corpse hit the ground. Quite unfortunately for me, a buggy pounce had reopened my bleed, and the killing blow had drained the last of my stamina. Great. Chunky the baby gobbler stole my food, and then used my blood to hunt me down too. Anyway, definitely not a little bit salty, I started again. Hunting a chicken like the little weasel I was. A single chicken, though, is enough food and diet to get a baby Troodon to 50% growth. Not a bad trade for being one of the very few things fresh spawn Troodon doesn't take several minutes of biting to kill. Looking at you, goats. I remained hidden away throughout my growth this time. I had learned all too painfully just how fragile a young Troodon was, and I was getting really tired of the respawn screen. Once I was grown, I began the long trek across the map, searching for people. I'd had enough AI. As great as they are for growing, they're simply not exciting to hunt. During my travels, I ran into another Troodon, and we wandered down to water access. There were a lot of dinos there, but also a little Serrato that was teasing them. I watched, hoping the dinos would eventually give up and I could hunt the Serrato myself. But when he made a wrong move and was yoinked, I switched gears. Land dino bothering time. If you know me, you know I can't leave a land dino alone. We sent the small dino scurrying back into the water, and I stood watch while my companion ate. It wasn't long, though, before his big brother came over to bully us off the carcass. While my companion wandered off to hunt something else, I stayed where I was. See, now Big Brother was also being incredibly land dino, and I simply had to be a menace. Satisfied with my work as he headed back into the lake, I went on my way. My companion and I ultimately went our separate ways. He headed back toward the northern side of the map where I'd come from, and I moved toward Delta. What I thought I was going to do as a solo Troodon in Tononto territory is anyone's guess, but I went there all the same. All I spotted there, though, were a pair of stegos and their pet galley. Not exactly great options, but I thought that maybe if I could catch the galley alone, perhaps I'd have a chance to take it down. I just had to be patient. Of course, with the grass as tall and thick as it was, being able to actually see where the galley was quickly became an issue. He spotted me long before I got eyes on him. I put a pounce into him, though, and he immediately ran back to the stegos. Darn. A short while later, I was back on the prowl. The stego herd had grown in numbers, and I had spent my time scavenging whatever tried to bother them. The current annoyance was a pteranodon screeching above their heads and pecking at them. I didn't see it die, but I did see a small raptor sitting on a rock nearby. I couldn't tell how big he was, but I decided he might very well be something I could actually hunt on my own. I got distracted, however, for a moment, as I had a few other Troodon players rapidly approaching my location. They had seen the stegos and I tried to spot them, but when I didn't see them immediately, I decided to go back for the raptor first. I pounced the raptor and pinned him. He was smaller than I realized, but now there were good diets here for the other Troodons that were on their way. Once we'd all met up, we headed to the east. Another small group of Troodons had begun nesting in a nearby sanctuary, and we thought we'd do well to combine groups and become a Troodon horde. On the way there, however, another Cerrado arrived. I'm beginning to see a pattern here. Are you? One of our numbers got cut down on their very first pounce. Dang. But at least their death left an opening for me to go in. We got him to second stage, and he attempted to camp a tree. But when he realized how much damage we'd done, he instead went to the corpse to attempt to gastro heal. It wasn't enough. We waited to open the corpse until Phelan returned as a fresh spawn. They'd been lucky enough to respawn in East, so it wasn't a long journey. Once the organs went bad, we made our way to the nesting Troodon group. Their small group wasn't so small anymore. We decided to join forces. See what kind of mischief our little horde could get up to in Highlands. And so our journey across the map began. All was going well until we encountered a different kind of horde. Pterodactylous chaos rained down upon the heads of half of the true crew. Only Gateway knows how many were lost in the chaos, but those that survived and found each other again continued on our way. Eventually, we reached Highlands, and I picked a fight with a pair of fresh spawn galleys. You don't think those little baby kung fu geese hurt much until you're a Troodon. Ouch. I raced up the hill to the rest of the crew, and they charged. The problem, though, with being in a large group of pouncing critters is that eventually one of them is going to friendly fire someone else. And I just happened to be the one that took the hit. Very nearly dead, I went and sat in a bush, waiting out the bleed. As I was waiting, the rest of the crew decided to attack a pair of adult Cerrados. Now, that's technically a hunt that is doable as a Troodon pack. but only with careful coordination and timing. We had neither. How many died, I'm not sure, but it was enough that I was actually glad I'd been too injured to join the hunt properly. With only 4 of us remaining, we made our way south. I hoped to find one proper good fight while I still had a pack. I simply am not experienced enough with Troodon to be an effective solo true. Beside the lower waterfall, I spotted a lone Serato. Shocking. Another one. But I also saw another Troodon. That was actually surprising. We added them to our group, and I trotted after the Serato. As we approached, I heard Herrera's in the tree above him. Either this guy was oblivious to them, or he didn't care. At the same moment that Phelan went in for the first pounce, both Herreras jumped the Serato too. Dang. What a sudden onslaught from tiny tears. The hunt ranged out into the open. Fine by me, I didn't want to be near enough to the trees that the Herreras jumped us. But this Serato didn't appear to know how to alt-fight. All the better for us, very unfortunate for him. In the end, we may have lost one of our small pack, but we'd gained a meal that would feed everyone. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please make sure to leave a like and comment your thoughts below. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for more content like this. Thanks, and I'll see you soon.